The investigators that worked this case, there's no doubt in my mind they have stopped a mass shooting that was going to happen. This guy was ready to go, had all the equipment, had the propensity to do it. It's just a matter of what day was going to set him off to go do it.
A Florida sheriff is not holding back when talking about the arrest of this man. Pictures show that deputies found 18 guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition, police uniforms, and allegedly plans to carry out mass shootings at 7 locations. Allegedly, he gloated online about his loadout being set for, quote, war. Then on social media, he allegedly made it look like he was a member of law enforcement as he flaunted the guns allegedly in his possession. But then, on top of all of that, another shocking twist in this story. Deputies say he was allegedly in touch with a Wisconsin teenager for months before she died carrying out a school shooting last year. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. The sheriff in Palm Beach County, Florida, says his deputies have stopped a mass shooting before it happened because they were able to arrest a man they believe had stalked several locations and had the weapons to do it. Damian Allen is now under arrest. Deputies say they first learned of the 22-year-old through a tip that came into the FBI. Deputies raided his home in Loxahatchee, Florida, and they say they found 18 guns and 12,000 rounds of ammunition. This is one of the pictures the sheriff showed at a news conference. On top of the weapons, deputies say Allen allegedly had multiple Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office uniforms, a badge, a PBSO laptop, even the belt and holster that deputies use. They say it's unclear how Allen got his hands on all of that. We found Allen's Instagram page, and he has allegedly posted multiple videos of him dressed up as a deputy. And deputies say those videos are far more than just some 22-year-old playing dress up and pretend police.
Some of the information we have on this is that there were online communications with other individuals who discussed carrying out mass violence, not just here in Florida and Palm Beach County, but in the nation. Allen expressed support of radically and ethically motivated violent extremism and threats of mass violence, to include identifying several places, I believe it was 7, that he would like to strike. This included a police department, and in other conversations, people who was online were to discuss churches. The use of guerrilla warfare and tactics and ambushing to carry out the mass violence attacks.
We went through court records for Allen, and in the probable cause affidavit, we see Allen talking on TikTok about his alleged extremist views and violent attacks. In May of last year, deputies say Allen was allegedly talking to a user on TikTok who they say wanted to do a, quote, black church that was near me, but you know. Allen later replies, quote, I got a AR-500 steel plates, at level 4 helmet, IFAK kits, my loadout is set up for war. Deputies say that user who Allen was communicating with was Natalie Rupno. That name might sound familiar to you. She was a 15-year-old girl who killed a teacher and student at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin in December of last year. She also injured 6 other people. Court records show that after Rupno took her life, police in Wisconsin got her phone from her pocket, then traced a conversation that she was having with Allen in Florida. Here's another video, allegedly of Allen from his Instagram, and this time you can see he's in military fatigues and carrying what looks like an AR-style rifle. Deputies also say that Allen and Rupno allegedly established a conspiracy to commit mass shootings. In June, Allen writes, quote, we go down together, to which Rupno replies, correct, and says, I love you. To which Allen replies, I love you more. Another key exchange was this one from May of last year, when both Rupno and Allen were talking about how many guns they allegedly had. Allen talks about how many magazines he has, including 10 that can hold 30 rounds each, and how he also allegedly has smoke grenades. Rupno replies she has 2 of her father's handguns. 2 handguns is what police in Wisconsin say that teen used when she attacked her school. The conversation then continues with Allen stating, quote, once you get to a point, there's no going back, end quote. I got 7 places I would strike. The police department also. Guerrilla warfare tactics, ambushing, and blitz. Deputies in South Florida say Allen spoke with the Wisconsin school shooter from May to September of last year. Their conversations ended less than 2 months before Rupno attacked her school. As far as what could be the motivation for Allen allegedly to plan a mass shooting and even target, from what we're seeing in those conversations, a police station when, according to social media, he loved to dress up as a PBSO deputy, we noticed on this image that was provided by the Palm Beach County Sheriff of all the weapons they say they found at Allen's house, you can see that there was a swastika as well as what looks like a Russian flag on the sleeve of a military shirt. In court documents, it does appear that Rupno harbored racist and anti-Semitic views, and one question it seems that PBSO deputies are trying to answer right now is, how did Allen get his hands on so much gear that PBSO deputies use? The uniforms, the belts, the holsters. It seems from looking at his social media, he was obsessed with law enforcement. This is even a picture he took of 2 PBSO vehicles outside of a Walmart, and here's a picture of that belt and holster in his closet that he posted on Instagram too. This is what the sheriff's office had to say.
He posted several videos of him wearing a full PBSO uniform, which is very similar to what myself and the sheriff are wearing today. It included a badge, a name tag with his name on it, and all the equipment that is issued through PBSO officers. There's a Class B uniform, which is a less dressier one, the short sleeve version, but he had 2 or 3 of those uniforms, which at that time were still looked at how those were obtained. He had a gun belt, a taser, a radio, and other police equipment, including a fake body cam video to make it more realistic. He showed himself operating a vehicle that resembled a law enforcement car. I believe it was a Crown Vic, if I'm not mistaken. And he added a police package, a laptop stand, and a police computer in there. And it was operational, and he would take videos of him standing in it and sitting in it.
There's also the question of how this 22-year-old was able to afford so much gear, so many weapons. Deputies say they're still looking into that, and it's unclear if he legally owned all the weapons they say was in his possession. Deputies say he was living with his family. The FBI is also involved in this investigation, and deputies say there could be federal charges. Currently, Allen is facing charges of written or electronic threat of a mass shooting or terrorist act, using a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony, and illegally impersonating a police officer. He's currently being held in the Palm Beach County Jail. The longtime sheriff in Palm Beach County did not hold back when talking about this case.
This is disturbing that somebody can get these type of items off the internet. It baffles me, to be honest with you. But this is a dangerous, dangerous individual. Can you imagine the damage he would have done with 12,000 rounds of ammunition and fully automatic ARs? Unquestionably, this is one of the best arrests that I've seen in a long time that has prevented people from dying, because I guarantee you he was going to do that.
A former classmate of Allen spoke to a local TV station in West Palm Beach, WPTV, who said that Allen was a member of her high school's JROTC and would often talk about guns. And she said, quote, "I soon realized he wasn't normal. He would always talk about guns, and he was in JROTC, and he would just constantly talk about those things. And when I would try to sway the conversation to any other topic, that wouldn't work."
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones. We here talking about the potential mass shooter, suspected white supremacist Damian Allen, who had a plot to shoot. He had a plan to shoot up seven different spaces, 7 different spots. One of those spaces was a black church. He also wanted to shoot up the police station, and he had a whole plan put together that was tied to the Wisconsin shooter, which was an underage girl. So that's a whole nother strike against him. So crazy white boy wanted to be a mass shooter connected with underage girls that he's saying that he loved, that I love you with that. He has an obsession with guns that was stated by one of his classmates. And he was ready for war. And what was he ready for? Because, you know, like PC always talking about black people being at war, but black people not realizing we at war, and white people always being ready for war. And it's almost as if it's a we fight. Well, it's not almost. It's a we fight us and they fight us as well. And so are we really aware of the present danger that could be lurking around the corner? that we're not ready for. But these are also the same people that we're always trying to be around, that we keep following, the same people that, we want to pledge our allegiance to, but at the same time, they always have us on their list to take us out. So PC, man, I'm gonna start with you, but you already, I almost forgot. Like this video, comment, subscribe, share. You know what that finger mean. If you don't like this video, you ain't black. You ain't black. Joe Biden told me to tell you. So you want to be black, you hit that like button. PC, man, what you think about Damian Allen and this whole plan, his manifesto, his connections, his mindset, all this stuff, being, I'm keep saying the suspected white supremacist, but what do you think about Damian Allen?
I don't think anything suspected about it. There's nothing suspect about it. I think this man passed the test of flying colors in terms of being a full-fledged white supremacist. I mean, one of the first things he's talking about is driving around looking for a black church, to light up. And this is not new. The fact that he even amassed all these weapons is not new. The fact that allegedly he did this with unsuspecting parents, allegedly, is not new. You know what I'm saying? The fact that the one thing they can't say is he was a lone wolf, right? That's the one thing. Of course
he was. They always are.
They can't say that now. He had a little, underage Priscilla Presley out here doing his dirty work.
Yeah, he's on some Bonnie and Clyde.
Man, he was on some Elvis and Priscilla. But he had her out there and they were partners and lovers in crime. So can't use the lone wolf network, the lone wolf sentiment, and now all of a sudden that they don't know how he got funding. Come on, man. They know how he got the funding. They don't want to disclose how he got the funding because it'll probably reveal something more so similar to a lot of the other shooters that are out there doing, mass killers, on attempted mass killers, who are out there with ties to government agents and government agencies. So this is nothing new. The whole concept of are black people ready? We're never ready. We're purposefully not ready. We have short memories, and we love the feeling of blissful ignorance when it comes to the dangers that are all around us. It's like asking, what was the old saying? It's two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. We're the sheep. It doesn't matter what we say. We're on the plate. I mean, we choose to be sheep. Yeah. We don't have to be sheep, but we choose to be sheep. The only time we're not sheep, the only time we're savage is when it's with each other. And that's on the streets. That's between the sheets. That's on, that's on at the executive level. That's in the corporations. It's on site when we see each other. And so if you have a lot of disdain for your community, and you have a lot of disdain for yourself, and you have a lot of hatred for how you are, we don't even invest in the black community enough to care about the ongoings. We just hope it don't happen to us. We just hope that we're not the unfortunate ones that happen to, but we don't care enough to do anything to put measures in place to stop it. There are black militias out there that look at this and take it seriously, but they'll never get funding from us, but we'll expect them to pull up. Well, how do they do it? This kid had funding. Well, I can't call him a kid. He's an adult, but he started as a kid. He has funding. Apparently, he has backing
somewhere. Because
we don't.
If he had didn't he have a police car?
Man, listen. When I saw his arsenal, I ain't gonna lie. My mouth started watering.
Damn.
Like, and it, I'm not gonna say that I have any plans or any malignant intent, but I'm a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. I practice the Second Amendment, so I saw. Listen, why can't we have that? And I'm looking at that, and then I'm thinking about the fact that we don't care enough to do so. And when's the last time you seen somebody black that got a gun? Damn, I don't know if I can say these words, but that got a firearm and wasn't envisioning, taking down one of us in the process. I've been at the range, and I've heard, brothers, letting off, Draco rounds. And the first thing they say was, "Yeah, I wish a nigga would come up on me. I got something for us." That ain't not thinking about no Damian Allens. We're not thinking about the Dylan. What was it?
Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roofs. We're not thinking about them. We don't in some of these places. The dude has 7 spots out that he lined up. The only thing that stopped him from pulling up was the fact that he had such a variety he couldn't make a choice. But this happens all the time. This is around Hitler's birthday. Around Hitler's birthday, they always get riled up. It's like, these are the holy days of white supremacy. And so, and through them, they have to commit some type. This is a spirit. This is what we talk about when we say spiritual warfare. This is the spirit of their ancestors for those who have bought into the whole concept behind defending Ruby Ridge, defending Waco, avenging it, which led to the bombing of Oklahoma City municipal building. These are the types of things that are fostered in their hatred. Because let's not forget that Oklahoma City bombing, they parked that truck right on the side where the daycare was that housed a lot of black children that lost their lives that day. So, yes, this is white supremacy. Yes, this is them being this is white supremacy, white supremacist. And this is black people closing their eyes, pretending as if I close my eyes, the problem will go away. And I'll land my plane.
Yeah. We're in that's what I was gonna say. So white supremacist system produces violence no matter what, whether it's the oppressed or the oppressor, because in order for a white supremacist system to actually exist, violence has to precede it. And in order to maintain the white supremacist system, you have to use violence. And so the white supremacist system will produce a violent group of people, whether you are the oppressed or the oppressor. And so we shouldn't be surprised, like you're saying, we shouldn't be surprised, it's nothing new, that people like this continue to be produced in a society like America, like the United States. Like this is like the home of like mass shooters and school shooters and people like Daniel Allen and the little white girl he was connected with. How do we make sense of that? Like, can help me break that down for the people? Like this, why is this system constantly producing, like, because we know it's going to produce violence, but violence on this scale of people who want to eviscerate mass groups of people? Why do you think a violent society can even produce like people on this grand scale of violence? Like, how do we make sense of that? Especially looking at us being the constant victims of a lot of this stuff.
So the question is, how does a violent society create violent people?
Well, no, breaking it down, because we know it creates people, but how does it breed people who are like not just violent on some kind of regular level, but like the crazy violent, like the ultra violent, like the excessive violent people and stuff?
Okay, so in a violent society, what causes somebody to be extremely violent?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. I know I took it a long way, but yes. Make it, because we're trying to make sense of it from a psychological point. That's my bad.
No, I mean, I think when we start having these conversations about the creation of individuals, we're always talking about a range, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are always going to be people that are impacted on across the spectrum on the high range and the low range.
Right.
When you have a society that does encourage violence, which American society does encourage violence, I don't think anybody can argue with that. And then it creates these narratives and stereotypes surrounding the perpetrators and the victims of said violence, which we do understand we have stereotypes around perpetrators and victims of violence. Okay, guys. Okay. So if we can understand that, then we can also understand the notion of patriotism, the notion of positive reinforcement, the notion of rewards, and all of these other things. And we're talking about society as a system of individuals that have created a social contract with each other that rewards some of us for certain activities with a level of status, praise, authority, acclaim, all of these other things, admiration. So it's just like we see it on social media, right? When somebody makes a crazy post on social media, they're rewarded by getting a whole bunch of likes and comments, subscribers, engagement. Not only are they rewarded by the system, but they're also rewarded internally in their own brains. We talk about the dopamine hit all the time. You know what I'm saying? The reward circuit gets activated. That same thing happens in society. In a violent society where the breakdown between acceptable violence and unacceptable violence, that line starts to get blurred. And that's what's happening in today's day and age. You'll have somebody who is stuck in a, what do they call them? Echo chambers. They're stuck in an echo chamber, constantly in a feedback loop that is constantly getting stronger as it circles and reinforces itself. So he's in this group that is telling him, he's in this world of information that's telling him it's cool, it's powerful, it's impressive for you to take this stance, for you to do this. And he keeps getting fed that. And most people, they don't get locked in those types of echo chambers. Most people in America, they have different outlets, different avenues, different structures and things of that nature that allow them to get out of extreme views. They still have crazy views, but they get locked out of the extreme ones. And a lot of the times it's because they're stuck in social circles that says extreme views are taboo. But in his case, there was no social circle saying this extreme view is taboo. Go ahead, Joe. I see you want to say something.
No, it's just a question because I'm trying to make sure we can have an understanding of the mindset or the personalities of people who would inflict extreme violence on the society. So there's a like, because you're talking about a person who would gravitate more toward extremism. So is there certain personality traits that would gravitate more toward extremism, more so than other personality traits that you know of?
Well, yeah, there are. And the list. So when we do this, right, we got to be careful. And PC can speak to this too.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't. So I don't want anybody to say that there's one specific personality trait that you got to be looking out for, because human behavior doesn't work like that. It's more of an amalgamation of a bunch of things. So, but we are looking at things like temperament. We are looking at things like prone to addictive behavior or obsessive behavior. We're looking at different things like that might manifest themselves. And a lot of these things are genetic, but a lot of these things are also encouraged by the environment. So in this particular case, we're looking at somebody that might have had a particular predisposition towards some sort of obsessive behavior, but that might have also had a certain temperament that created a worldview. Go ahead.
No, because the young lady did say, well, whoever the classmate that was in the ROTC with them did say he obsessed over talking about guns all the time.
Well, yeah, and so when we're talking about obsession, a lot of the times it's not just being obsessed with the one item. The obsession can break off into like secondary obsessions with items that are attached to the primary obsession. And again, PC can correct me if I'm wrong. But so yeah, so we're talking about all of that, but anybody with an obsession with guns, there is that risk there that is elevated and heightened, that there is also going to be an obsession with using the guns.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, they're going to want to let off a round or two.
And they're also going to have a target in mind.
Right.
And do so.
And that, yes. And so that's
you say they do have a target?
No,
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
They're going to have a target in mind. Like
Yeah.
they're not just thinking about, it's not just about, because the obsession extends, right? So it might start off with the gun, and then it'll start off maybe with connections and all these things to the gun, and then it'll connect to firing the gun, and then there'll be an obsession with what happens to the thing that's hit when you fire the gun. And then there could become an obsession with the damage that comes with the gun. And so now you are thinking about a target. Now you are thinking about what can I, and so that's where social contracts and social controls would come in place. And it would say, hey, it's okay to shoot, say, ballistics gel. It's okay to shoot targets. It's okay to shoot fruits. It's not okay to shoot people. But if you're stuck in a specific echo chamber that says that these people are worthy of being shot, they need to die anyways, then it's not a hard thing to think that I would be rewarded for shooting these people.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know for me personally, it's probably gonna be more personal for me, but just trying to make sure, because when I saw this story, I was like, I want to deep dive, see if we can deep dive into like trying to understand why somebody like that moves the way they move, because they say we need to make sure we understand our enemy. So why does this person move the way they move? That was my mindset with this when I saw the clip.
Well, I know I was going in a long roundabout way, and that was because I got caught up trying to explain the details of it. But the short answer is, he got stuck in a cycle that rewarded him for ever increasing bad behavior.
Okay.
That's the short answer of it. And when you look at the environment he was in, like PC said, with young Priscilla, you know what I'm saying? When you look at everything else, and you look, and then you think about the most powerful. I know we in this red pill era of screw women, but the most powerful motivator for most men is still going to be a woman. A woman praising you for a specific behavior is going to, as a man, cause you to express that behavior more and more frequently and more intensely. And so if she's enamored by this aspect of him, that aspect of him is going to intensify. And that's not just him, because it also seemed like he had a social circle of male friends that were also encouraging that type of behavior.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's I mean, because we can even look at the fact that he could have had a predisposition prior to his affliction with firearms and guns. That because he also seemed to be steered in that whole the mindset of being a white extremist, and sometimes those things go hand in hand, because then it's like, you know, the mindset of the white extremists, they're always thinking about the final solution. And then what's the objective? So if you got the goal of the final solution, one of the objectives could be saying, hey, if I become enamored with these, if I use the gun is the fastest way to exact, you know, these results. And then therefore the obsession with the guns, it's kind of like people that get tattoos, right? Once you get your first tattoo, for most people, if they like the tattoo, it becomes addictive. Next thing you know, their entire body is a work of art from tattoos.
So this would be something that kind of give him a sense of power and belonging.
Yeah.
Okay.
power, belonging, and like Pat was saying, acceptance.
Okay.
You know, these types have always been like awkward. You know, you
Right,
remember
right,
the Clyboyd and the other guy that was out there in Colorado. They was the trench coat mafia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at the breakdown of because we got to understand something. Because most of us live in surroundings that are urbanized, and a lot of those urbanized settings, there's a healthy number of black people in those urban settings. There's an entire country that's on this Western frontier shit. That's on this cowboy sort of vigilanteism, lawless society. That's America. That is the foundation of the core of America. Was America's rooted. Yes, America. You know, they signed the Declaration of Independence in blood. You know, this country is built upon the blood, and for a lot of these cats and the disposition. I mean, Pat hit it. You know, this dude's obsession was something that was growing and festering.
Yeah,
and it was about to reach a climax.
It was until they found the thing in the girl phone.
Yeah, it's like a pyro, right? A pyrotechnic. You know, if you got a kid that is infatuated with fires, it doesn't start with them setting the building on fire. It starts with them striking a match.
Yeah.
In many cases. And then the fire gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's sort of what we're seeing here. This aficionado. And I mean, I'm just glad he was silly enough to put the shit on TikTok. Because if he wasn't, this had a propensity to be a massive undergoing, for which I'm going to say I have a problem with that.
With a problem with what part?
A problem with the fact that he would have got this off, and it would have been another unassuming black, a circle of black people who would have been caught with their pants down again.
If they wouldn't have went through the phone, because he was putting nothing. He had all that on social media, and I'm not sure if the tension was on him until they went through the phone.
But what I'm saying is, Joe, if he would have been able to follow through with this,
that's right.
There was no black opposition to this.
Right.
One of the things that slowed him down was he had a plethora of targets. He was trying to decide on which one, at least which one to start.
It was a series of events that led to him being caught rather than him, because he was this close to going out there and eviscerating that church.
Yeah, but if he would have, my point is, I mean, Florida is part of the South, and people talk about the sanity of,
Did happen here.
Yeah, so Florida is southern Georgia and southern Alabama for the most part. When you have when you live there and you live on the edge of it, how are you going to keep getting caught with your pants down? You literally live in places that were like Rosewood is not too far from there, if I'm not mistaken, right?
But Rosewood is like an hour and a half away, but it's forgotten history.
Well, that's the biggest problem, isn't it?
Right.
That's the biggest problem, because we relive. There was a news story today about the Move bombing from 1985 in the newspaper today. I don't think you have to be of a certain mindset to say I'm gonna let it happen again.
But that's why I asked, and I know I completely messed that question up asking it in the beginning to Pat, but so I'm glad you understood what I was trying to say. But that's why I'm asking the question of at least us have a better understanding of the psychology. Those who come across this information have a better understanding of the psychology of a white supremacist mass shooter, because like you said, we keep getting caught with our pants down.
But the biggest problem is not that we don't understand it. We understand it better than anybody. Is the fact that we still want to see the good in something that was hell spawn.
That's what happened in the movies. They change and they become good.
But we have got to grow up because I'm not going to be one of these cats. And plus, when they get away with the shit, first thing people do is go on there. They try to race to the microphone to forgive them for the mass killing that took place. So
Yes.
I'm just tired of people being comfortable being victims. I'm tired of black people being comfortable. The only time we raise up and get tough is when they want to come for one of us. But when it comes to, you know, people who have sworn to be your enemy, people who are planning and plotting your downfall, literally, you have no smoke for them. They have nothing to be afraid of when they come in your neighborhoods. And, you know, so I just wanted to, because we're worried about their mindset or trying to figure out the psychology of why they would do it. They do it because they do it. It don't fucking matter what their mindset is. It doesn't matter. You know, why? Why? Are you going to put together a secret serum to cure them of being a white supremacist that hate black people? You don't have that kind of power. You can't even stop black people from hating black people. So, all right.
You had to let that one go. It's all. But nah, I mean, we're gonna keep being here. We're gonna keep complaining. We're gonna keep being here, and stuff like this is gonna keep happening. People like this are gonna keep being produced, and we're gonna continue being a victim of it unless somebody do something different. And I don't know about y'all, but like Pat was just telling us, like discovering like the way people's information can be found so quickly, and you got fools like this running around out there. Like, we are totally vulnerable, to everything that's happening around us, from ourselves to others, because like that's scary as hell that you can just find somebody information like that, and you got lunatics out here running around like that with hit lists.
Let me tell you how vulnerable we continue to be. And tell me if y'all see this where y'all at. You're driving down the street and somebody is crossing in front of your car. Now, typically they're very, you know, entitled about being able to cross the street in front of your car, so they don't mind how long they make you wait. But how often do you see them, you know, they're while they're walking, they're looking at the, you know, they're looking at the street, they're looking each way. But the second that they could possibly make eye contact with you, they look away from you, and they put their cell phone in their face. They pretend as though they're unbothered. I see that on a daily basis here in Philadelphia. I also see that when I'm walking past somebody and they're coming towards me, I make eye contact with everybody because I need to know what type of time you on. They will literally take their phones and do this to avoid eye contact with me. Now, if you're going to do that, and you're not just doing it with me, you're doing it everywhere you go, are you really trying to be ready for if somebody was to break off and perform one of these mass acts of terror? Are you really trying to be ready? Or are you trying to be one of those people that want to show that you're unbothered and you're trying to be cute? But that cuteness will get you murked out here. And it's gotten people murked because a lot of these cats are lining their own blood with smiles on their faces because they underestimated the wolf that knocked on their door. That Little Red Robin Hood shit, that was based on the cautionary tale to keep children alive in Europe when they would walk in the woods, and men who had become deranged and living out in the woods with overgrown hair mimicked wolves. They looked like male wolves, like men who turned into wolves, and they were cannibals, and they would eat the children. That's why they would tell cautionary tales. But we live in a place where we like to believe it's fairy tales. And, you know, until the fairy tales bites us in the ass.
Well, I mean, no, if you keep trying to appeal to the emotions of people who are not going to even give in to their emotions, and then violence, they're motivated by violence. Good luck. I'm looking at something. They said he was like in some kind of gaming circle where they used to play the live action games or whatever. And there's, Pat, you ever heard this term LARPing? like the live action. It says live action role playing. Well, basically, this is what he was supposed to be engaged in, like the live action role playing and bringing whatever he doing on these shooter games, so his first person shooter games, whatever those games he on, supposed to be bringing that to real life and doing that, going out and LARPing.
LARPing got to be real big, and when they used to do like it's like an extension of like Comic-Con and stuff like that.
That Pokemon stuff they were doing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Pat, this is Pat Serena.
No, hey, don't do me like that. No, I'm joking.
I'm saying you know more about the technical stuff than me.
No, it's like the comic book stuff, like the Marvel stuff. Like you see the people dressing up like comic book characters and superheroes and action figures and going to the things. So it's like an extension of that. It's the same group of people, not the same, but it's a part of that group that have gotten into, usually it's the fantasy role-playing games, RPGs and stuff like that. They'll dress up like those characters and they'll act out certain scenes from the game and stuff like that.
When I was saying the Pokemon thing, I was meaning like, remember when they had like games on the phone when they had people running around? Okay, that's different. That's a bit different.
No, I guess technically it could be the same thing. Just me personally, I wouldn't associate that with LARPing because the Pokemon card game was like a real like game.
Okay.
That people was actually playing. This is more like we just gonna, like if your favorite game is Final Fantasy 7 or whatever, somebody gonna dress up like Cloud Strife with the big sword, somebody gonna dress up like Sephiroth with the big sword, and y'all gonna have a big sword fight. Like that would be LARPing.
Okay.
Something to that. So or it could just be acting out the characters in a different setting in some form of fan fiction that somebody created, but it's mainly centered around acting out fantasy characters or video game events in the real world. So, but I want to be careful about that because LARPing, it's a real community and 99% of the time it's harmless. This is the 1% of the time where Buddy was. So I just don't want to lump it all in and be like,
no,
oh, he's
I'm
a
glad
LARPer.
you said
You gotta
that,
watch
though.
out for all LARPers.
No, I'm glad you said that because like I say, I'm trying to get some understanding. Like I don't know about that world, no LARPing or nothing like that. So I'm just trying to make sure. But I'm glad you said this is a one-off in the LARPing community, basically.
Yeah, no, this is like I'm pretty sure if they start attaching this to the LARPing community, LARPers would come out strongly and be like, yo, we've been doing this for decades.
Gotcha.
We got events, we got a whole culture built around this. You're not gonna put this one thing on us.
Yeah, this was bred in a whole nother community, a whole nother environment.
I told you Pat knew more than me.
Yeah, and but I think one of the things that we as Black folk really could learn, like PC is right. Like I know you hinted at it too, Joe. This is white supremacy. Mm-hmm. That we don't need to put it on no other community. This is their community. This is them.
Right.
Even if you don't want to acknowledge that they exist, this is proof they exist. Like what did Wesley Snipes say in Blade? You know what I'm saying? When they said, what's one thing that you want to tell me about vampires? And he said, they exist. Like white supremacists, I understand everybody want to get all these cutesy phrases. White supremacy isn't real because if we want to talk about white supremacy, we got to talk about this and we got to talk about that. And no, there are white people out there that want you gone because you're Black. No other reason is needed. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason that they need. And the fact that you think that it's so impossible for that to be true means you're a bigot. You are a bigot. That's what I'm saying. Let's look up the definition of bigot.
Bigot.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, Pat. When Black folk hear you talking bad about these white folk,
might have to drop a dime on them niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Hey, I'm looking it up.
I don't like that shit.
Yeah, that's right. But this is the truth. A bigot is a person who is unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or fact, especially one that is prejudiced against or antagonistic towards a person or people based on their membership in a particular group. You're refusing to believe that white supremacists exist. You were so attached to this post-racial world that you refuse to believe that people don't like you because of your skin color. That makes you a bigot.
Yeah.
The same thing you accuse them of being, that's what you are.
Right. And this is a case of nature and nurture. Because the environment that they come in and what they're taught within that environment is nature and nurture working to create these white supremacists over and over and over, because they keep spitting out these mass shooters over and over and over.
Yeah. They have an assembly line. They have their culture refined to a science. They know how to take a young, impressionable white boy and turn him into a mass murderer. Turn him into a killer. They have perfected the art. And we should have learned that when Dylan Ruth popped up. How many Dylan Ruths have there been?
But that's
over
why
the course of American history.
But that's why conversation like this, in my opinion, is vital, because like having that understanding. I mean, we know most people ain't gonna do nothing with it, but damn it, we gonna do something with it. Because I'm staying alive.
Right. Like, so this is why you had these conversations with black folk. Like, I don't like guns. Me neither.
But I got some.
But I'd rather have one than not have it.
That shit cracks me up. I just don't like guns. So the fuck what?
Right.
You know what? I don't like spinach. I don't like vegetables. But if I don't eat shit, I'm gonna die.
Well, my argument is always, if my enemy has guns and want to take me out, I need to have a gun to protect myself.
Like, I'm a knife guy. I love swords, knives, blade. I'm looking at my background. I got one in my background. I ain't even notice it. But but I got guns. As a matter of fact, I got some new ones just talking to y'all and having a conversation.
I got on me guns.
And being like, yo, like that's where we at, right? It doesn't matter if you like it. I don't know nobody that like the taste of medicine.
But you take it.
I don't know nobody. Like, I ain't met a man yet that's excited about, here we go. I don't know nobody that like going to the grocery store. Not a man. But you go because your girl asks you to.
Then you got to eat.
So
that's
like,
where the food at.
Life is filled with all of these things that we don't like. So I don't understand why it's okay for some things and not other things.
Because we're childish.
Got to grow up. Yeah.
And being childish, we run into a situation where we want to think like children, have the responsibility of children. We want to throw tantrums and whine when there's something that makes us uncomfortable. But being an adult is understanding that the majority of decisions you have to deal with and make and the processes you go through are very uncomfortable. And sometimes you just have to do it because it's the thing you need to do. I mean, shit, we don't like having to go to work. For the majority of us that have to go to work, for some of us, it's a hell of a place to be. But, we go because, bills got to get paid. And, and if you can't pay your bills, you're going to be on the street. Now, for some people, that's acceptable. I'm not one of those people, but but so when we talk about the uncomfortable nature of it, and this is what happens when you have a passive matriarchal society, because a matrifocal society, because we thinking with our feelings instead of being logical about the threat. We can't make a threat assessment off of feelings. You just can't do it. You can't make a threat assessment, an accurate threat assessment against people who are creating a warrior class. I mean, these cats sometimes they be wearing war paint They take this shit back to William of Orange.
But that's why we can't be afraid to talk. You're right. You're exactly right. We cannot be afraid to talk about violence. Violence is what got us here.
And we can't keep being passive. You know, we try to do things that are either intellectual or we hide behind the church. I'm going to pray on this situation and I'm going to make sure and I'm going to call on God and you know and the whole time God is like
Jesus Christ.
Stop putting it on me.
Hey man,
you know what I'm saying?
Trying to be safe is making us more vulnerable.
We ain't trying to be safe.
We're trying to be safe as in we're not gonna fight back.
No, we're being scared.
Right. But that's making you more vulnerable because you don't want to attack it like you're supposed to attack it. So you're gonna get it how you get it, and you got less power to protect yourself.
Let me tell you, there was a brother whose son was caught. I think it happened in Ohio. His son was involved in a police chase. They may have been in a stolen car. And the kid got out the car and the cop shot first and asked questions later. Ended up killing the kid. The very next day, that father went out. And I'm not sure if he was looking for the one that shot his son or not.
This happened recently, right?
Yeah, this happened like a week ago. And the brother ran down a police officer. I think he may have been outside directing traffic. And the response for a lot of people have been saying, listen, if you want the cops to stop killing our children, then they have to feel like there is a consequence to it, you know, and that's not me on here. But listen, I'm not even gonna qualify it. It is what it is. You want to stop people, you have to give them a reason to not fuck with you.
Organize around that too.
But listen, sometimes it's just a way of life. Sometimes it's your culture. Your culture has to shift and adapt if you want to live, if you want to be a culture proliferation. It has to adapt. We're cool with ratchet shit until it's time to get ratchet.
Organize around the stuff that spurs you towards liberation.
Well, and I don't even mean to sound disrespectful to that, Joe.
No, you let it out. I understand where you at. Let it out.
Because a lot of the shit is passive defiance. With us talking about let's get together and organize and let's meet and we're gonna have all these meetings and nothing comes of it. No actionable steps are taking place because people are too busy making the meeting the thing, making the organizing the thing. And what I'm saying is there's not enough action,
right,
in terms of being able to protect your block. It ain't about a demonstration. It's not about somebody mows down one of us and then you have 100 people in the street the next day walking down the street protesting or rallying around a point. No, this has to be a way of life.
Right.
This speaks back to what Patrick was talking about last week. One way is like charity, where it's a one-time careless donation of your time and energy and effort. And then the other is an investment for which you yourself, whether it's your time, whether it's your resources, whether it's your energy, whether it's your intellectual capital, is going into solving the problem permanently.
How long ago? What's that Dallas, Texas? Like what? Years ago with the gentleman.
Almost guy. 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And see, we're saying the same thing, right? So this can't just if you're talking about spurring ourselves toward liberation, this can't just be a one-off. Something got to come out of it. Something got to grow around it. It can't just be a one-off. It can't just be feeling good, like you say. Can't just be marching and stuff.
It is creating a situation. And I'll give you an example in terms of nations, right? Because we always talk about being Black nationalists and being a nation within the nation. So during the second half of World War II, when it was finally determined that the Allied nations they're going to defeat the Axis nations. So you had several countries who were vying for who was going to be the dominant world power after World War II. it fell on two powers, right? Forget Britain. Britain had lost because Britain couldn't even defend themselves adequately against Germany. So Britain was out of the picture. France has never been seen seriously since Napoleon Bonaparte died. They have never been seen as a world global power. Germany was depleted after World War II. But you had the Soviet Union and you had America. And they knew at the time that there was a race to get the scientists that were from Germany that were building, not only finding ways to split the atom. They had already split the atom by the time they got to them. All right. But they were also looking for ways to create intercontinental ballistic missiles. Right. So they masqueraded it as the great race to space. But what it really was an arms race. And so America, bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was to show globally this new weapon that had entered, the new weapon of mass destruction. Prior to that, it was the battleship. When they did that, a year later, the Soviet Union also detonated a bomb. Once you had that in place, both countries recognized that, and at the same time, they both pretty much got to space in the same decade, in the 60s. Once you had that in place, and you had a carrier system that wasn't a bomber, there was the intercontinental ballistic missiles that can carry several warheads at a time. Once you had all that in place, and they started having satellites all over the world, they created what was called a detente, mutually assured destruction. If I got bombs over here, you got bombs over there, we know the first person that land a bomb is going to end the world. So my bombs are going to make sure you play nice, and your bombs are going to make sure keep me honest. I'm going to play the closest it came, with an exception of like 2 years ago, was the 1963, was it 62, 63 Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. Yeah.
All right. That's the closest we came to World War. And that's because Kennedy was high as shit. And Khrushchev was, I think Khrushchev or Brzezinski, no, it was Khrushchev. He was having a mental breakdown at that particular time. That's how I got that close. Right. So you have to have a weapon in your community, or an assortment of weapons in your community, that will make sure that the enemies of your community will recognize if they attack your community,
right,
they put themselves in jeopardy of receiving similar or greater harm. That's what I'm saying. Mutually assured destruction. It's what keeps balance in the world. Now you can have cold wars, battles, and proxy wars here and there, but your place where your nation is, those lands don't get touched. Because if you come and touch anything in our boundaries, we're going to come and touch something in your boundaries.
Right. And we have nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
This is why this dude is sitting there like Baskin Robbins talking about I have an assortment of places I'm going to go and do all this mass killing. And he's saying it like it's a video game.
Because it is.
Yeah. And just like the what was the Peyton Gendron, right? The one that shot up the Buffalo theater. I mean the Buffalo movie, the Buffalo supermarket. He was live on Twitch, but he was also part of a gaming community. He was live on Twitch when he did that. I saw the first 2 minutes of that carnage. I saw him skip over the one white person that was a cashier and apologize for pointing the weapon in his direction. The blood splat. It was traumatized to the point where I'm still reliving it in my head, seeing what happened that day. How come the rest of us don't remember those things happening? But we will show video after video of black women fighting each other on the streets, black children fighting each other on the streets, black men fighting each other on the streets. We will have these young cats out here talking about I'm a YN and I'm out here, you know, protecting my corner, or you say something about me on Twitter or Instagram or in a song, I'm on your top and I'm gonna light up your whole block and this, that, and the other. And so we are killing off our own warriors. And our warriors, and it's a cycle. And then you ask, well, how are they getting funding for all these weapons?
Wouldn't you like to know? Why wouldn't they get it?
So what I'm really addressing is you can't send babies in the war because the baby's not going to know how to perform. The baby's not going to know how to react. A baby's not even going to recognize that there are bombs going off and there are landmines in the battlefield for which they're choosing to play hopscotch in. Black people are in the battlefield treating it like a playground.
Because it's fun, PC.
Yep. And we got short memories.
Yeah.
So, you know.
See, you try to get us to be all boring with your pound cake speech.
Listen. And the wild part about all of this, I think the wildest part about all of this is that, like I said, we talk about this stuff all the time, which is why one of the reasons why we have chosen to protect ourselves and put ourselves in positions where we can protect not just us but our families.
Right.
You know, we take it seriously, but there are not a lot of we's. And I'm not talking about these cats that are out here peacocking and, you know, I'm General such and such and I'm, you know, I run this outfit, this, that, and the other. I ain't talking about those cats. I'm talking about the dude that live on your block. Because when it goes down, you have to call all these people and get them together. They got to leave their full-time job and then they got to go to a locker somewhere to come get so by the time the battle, but you know, this stuff doesn't take a long time. I told you, Peyton Gendra, he did that. And when I saw he did the initial amount of carnage, he got that done in 2 minutes. Actually, it was a minute and 30 seconds before, you know, they shut down the video.
Yeah.
So we just playing. I mean, maybe we can be. What did y'all call them? Lindrones? What do they call them? What did y'all call them?
What?
No, the thing, you know, the people that take the video games and play
LARPing.
LARPings. I'm sorry.
How you get Lindrome from LARPing?
Y'all know I be butchering words and names.
Yo,
Lenny syndrome. Put it together.
Yo,
right. You know,
Lindrome.
Maybe we need to do because I've seen the cosplay and stuff. So I've seen it before. I just didn't know what it was called. But maybe we need to do something so that we are not seeing each other as the only people viable to be attacked. And maybe we should start seeing each other as worthy of being protected. But that starts another part of the conversation, which means you have to invest in it. And I'm going to say this too. You create us. We create the Frankenstein monsters we complain about in our own neighborhoods. You want to know why these so-called YNs can be out here with such hatred and vitriol for themselves in their neighborhoods? It's because we make them feel that way. When we see them out here starving, they can't help the fact that their parents are fiends. They can't help the fact that their parents are irresponsible. For many of them, their parents, they didn't bring their parents into the world. Their parents brought them into the world. But yet and still, when we see them and they're trying to do something, they scrape up change to get something to eat. Get the hell away from my car, you goddamn bastard. Get away from my shopping cart. You need to take your little badass home somewhere. You pour enough of that into those children, not only do you destroy who they are, because they internalize all that hatred. Now, if they don't love themselves, how could they ever have any love for you? What did Tupac say? Pat, what's your favorite line out of Juice? Tupac said, I ain't shit, and I'm a better man than you, so I know you ain't shit. And when I decide to take you out, ain't shit you can do about it. And I butchered that line too, but you get the
You
drift.
did.
Yeah. Well, the Black Panthers say when the child doesn't feel the warmth from the village, he burns it down. Something like that.
Well, that is the old African proverb that starts off as it takes a village to raise a child, and the child doesn't feel the warmth from the village. The child will burn the village down to feel its heat, to feel the warmth.
Go. There you
But
go.
if the child doesn't feel love from the community, it will burn the village down to feel the warmth.
So we are in a community where our own are burning it down to feel its warmth, and we're under attack by the oppressors and they psychotic killers.
I'm telling you, I can't wait to do this Malcolm, this word about Malcolm tonight. I can't wait to do it.
We just warming you up. We just warming you up. And speaking of that, man, go ahead and tell the people again, people who might not have seen this last week or people who seen it last week, remind them again when is your Malcolm X event.
Oh, so it's not necessarily a Malcolm X event. Is
Okay.
Is drill music and video games, ironically, right? We're talking about the violent impact in the culture. And I wanted to, my brother Bigger Dre put it together. Shout out to Bigger Dre. And it's going to be at the Rotunda here in Center City, Philadelphia at 4014 Walnut Street. And doors open at 4:30. Doors open at 4:30. Bring your children. Bring your children. Don't just you show up with the missus. Bring the children, because this is who this is for. But in the midst of that, brother has given me a space and time, along with several other people, to speak. And the topic I chose to speak about is, I just want to have a word about Malcolm. And one of the reasons for that is, like I said, we've had several several Malcolm X Day celebrations over the better part of a decade. And I've always wanted to be a part of those. So, whatever. But my brother Bigger Dre created a space for me to have that opportunity to address the legacy of Malcolm. And are we doing our part to fulfill the legacy, or are we just, mocking his memory by just, celebrating his name, but not necessarily putting in any of his ideals that he had towards building a bigger, better, and stronger Black community. And we're going to have some authors there as well, some young authors that we're pulling along, because we also want to pay it forward, and we want to bring new young blood into this particular space so that they can be accessible and they can be visible, but they also can be the next part of this journey, because I don't plan on taking this to my grave. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
That is. Also to remind you, Pat and I are in an upcoming documentary at the Pan-African Connection, hosted by Soda 7, Tony White. It will be coming out on May 19th on his website, asoda7.com. So you can actually go to the website, asoda7.com, and pre-order the documentary. But like I say, if you look at the trailer, it's a powerful trailer. Pat started off. He did a good job in the movie, in the documentary, rather. So that will be available once again, May 19th at asoda7.com. So make sure you check it out. Support the documentary, because I want my people to be out there. So make sure y'all support PC. And make sure, especially if you're not Philadelphia area, if you don't go over there, we're gonna be mad. We're gonna talk about it.
Get that finger at him.
If you don't go PC presentation, you ain't Black. And if you don't buy a copy of that documentary, because support the homies, support Patrick. Patrick, if you got to look at
saying that like you not in it.
Nah, right? I'm in it, but me and PC were talking the other day. I'm in it, but you killed that shit. I ain't trying to downplay me. I ain't trying to downplay me, but you killed that shit, and we got to give credit where credit due. That's why you starting off the trailer like that.
You set the tone, bro. You set the tone. It was excellent.
So, you gonna have to take these compliments. You can't. So
yeah.
Leave me in the dark.
Also, make sure y'all visit thepax.org. You better visit fetlifestation.com, and then you better visit ontheshoulders1.com, and you better visit thepax.org once again, asoda7.com, And if you're in the Philadelphia area, check out PC. And go ahead and hit that like button while you at it. Like, comment, subscribe, share. We need to run these likes up, run these comments up.
Yo, why my finger don't do the auto adjust thing like yours do?
I don't know.
Like move it over, like you see that, and then it blur you in the background. Mine don't do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
probably put your whole knuckle there.
Yeah.
Get your whole knuckle in the picture.
yeah, I bring it back. See?
There you go. There you go.
It's not doing it.
A little bit.
See your camera. Your camera support white supremacy. See,
Yeah, right. Like it's focusing on both things. I don't like that. I don't like that shit. I don't like that shit at all.
I'm gonna drop a dime on your camera. Hey man, we love y'all. Y'all be safe. Continue to support what we got going on because we all continue to build our platforms, and the mission is just to make sure we make our community better than what it was. So support everything we got going on. All the means to support us is in the description, and we'll catch y'all next Friday. Peace of the outeth.